So what's up, y'all? My name is Mark J. Morgan, and I want to talk to you about anxiety and depression. And anxiety and depression is something that in my life really didn't pay any much attention to. Wasn't recognizing signs or symptoms or anything like that. Just wasn't seeing how it was kind of taking effect on me. And it's ultimately me, growing at this point, experiencing life a lot more, and basically seeing what it is to be an adult and the responsibility, the example that I want to leave, to the individuals that are coming after me, my family, my friends, associates, and a lot of these things are things that I started to consider at some point, but I would say probably within the last 3 years, I've had a very interesting situation. Very interesting situation. I've had some nice opportunities with music. I've got to do some really cool things, some really dope things. Not on a grand level, not on a major level, but I would just say basically get one foot in front of the next and kind of start to build some type of legacy, build start some type of trailblazing situation, like a domino effect of consistently productive, good habits in my life that were actually bringing fruit forth and stuff like that. And it wasn't until basically I started that basic process right there. I was going to some networking events, going to seminars, just trying to make the dream happen, trying to really make things take place. And along the way, somewhere, it's like I kind of had a pause moment, and just, I don't know, I guess you could say a moment to really self-reflect after initially having a schedule that was so busy, and basically every day entailed of something. And it's not that that was necessarily a bad thing, and I could see how that could be, but that wasn't the bad thing. The thing that was ultimately affecting me was who I was as a person, and then the lifestyle that I was basically pursuing. What was really taking place. And for me, I'm a person that, I can't speak for anybody else, but for myself, I'm a person that God has always been in my life in one way, shape, or form. I've always tried to keep the faith and everything like that. And a lot of the time when I was growing up, I was pretty much like an outlier. Like I was the odd person out in a lot of instances, in a lot of situations. A lot of my friends was involved in, either this or that thing, and I was kind of always the person that was going against the grain. That was one thing that I was always about. And it wasn't until I found myself when I was, dealing with music and chasing music and stuff like that, the type of things and activities that I started to find myself involved with. And I mean just like straight out, just heavy smoking, and I mean like heavy drinking, and basically not doing the things that I typically was in life that I didn't realize were actually maintaining me. See, typically before all of these types of things took place, I was spending time with family. I was spending time with friends. You know what I mean? Coworkers, all of that stuff. This was a regular thing in rotation and stuff like that. But I head out, start to make the dream happen, see what's going on, see what's what, and I recognized that I was leaving all of those same components that initially were keeping me stable and that initially were actually holding me together and holding me firm. I was actually letting those things go one by one, one by one. And I didn't really think much at it. I'm just like, I guess this is just what comes with it. When you're starting to get active, when you're starting to get a little bit busy, people start cutting off. They ain't really not much to that. But little did I know, that's not the way I should have been going about things. And it showed me that realistically how selfish that I was becoming. And as a result, how cold my heart was actually becoming in the process of all of these endeavors. Opportunities will open up, things would take place. I'll post about this, yo, show up here. I tell somebody about this, yo, show up here, and everything like that. But yo, can you pop up? Can I pop up to a birthday? Can I pop up to a reunion? How about let me just check on my peoples. Let me just see what's going on. You see what I'm saying? There was that lack of that reciprocity in these moments and in these situations, and I needed a change. But first off, I needed to do what a lot of people need to do when they're in these types of situations, they're in these habits, they're in these cycles, they're in these processes. Is I first needed to acknowledge it, and that's the first thing that I started beginning to do. But I'm a man. Pride really set in these moments and stuff like that. And just as things were coming to me, things were actually leaving also. And I had to recognize who is who, what is what, who am I, what type of legacy am I setting for myself for the future. What do I want to leave for those after me? What type of example am I setting for those after me? And basically just coming to terms with all of these things, it really started to hit me real crazy. I put it that way. I started really dealing with depression on a deep level, and I didn't understand this or anything because I don't think I've been severely depressed before. Maybe I have in life, you lose a friend or something like that. You lose a family member, you know what I mean? Just, the general grieving, you're upset, you're sad about things, things really not going your way consistently, people letting you down, the regular things. But I hit like a level that was like much deeper than what I expected. And I basically hit a level that was much deeper than I expected. I can't say that I verbally turned my back on God, like, forget you, I don't want nothing to do with you. I can't say I went to those extremes, but through my actions, they were definitely speaking louder, and I lost my stability. I lost the foundation that I had in Christ, and honestly, that's where things really started to go spiraling down very, very fast. And let me first talk about just a couple of statistics that I just pulled up right now in regards to anxiety and depression, because one thing that was really helping me along the way was knowing that, yo, bro, you're not the only one going through these things. You're not the only person that's dealing with these circumstances. You're not the only person that's faced this before. And that was like, me taking a shovel, putting it in the dirt, digging out, like, okay, cool, I still got to get all the way up there and get out of this hole that I've dug myself into. But hey, that was a start. So let's take a look at some of these statistics. I'm going to put a link to where I got the statistics from. But the first thing that stood out to me in regards to when I was reviewing some of this, it said anxiety disorders are the most common mental illness in the U.S., affecting 40 million adults in the United States age 18 and older, or 18.1% of the population every year. And the next one I popped up was anxiety disorders develop from a complex set of risk factors, including genetics, brain chemistry, personality, and life events. So I want to deal with the first thing. In the U.S. alone, this is not the rest of the world or nothing like that. This is in the U.S. alone. 40 million adults in the United States, age 18 and older, are dealing with depression, are dealing with anxiety, are dealing with these different things that actually take place inside of us. And it wasn't until literally, like I said, within the past 3 years, I started recognizing, bruh, you're not being productive anymore. You're not being fruitful anymore. You're losing connections. You're losing people, and you're now filling in these spaces with people that don't really know you and know where you're from, know what you're about, and it's causing you to literally go downward because you're trying to fill in all of these areas where you initially left certain people and certain things and certain just things behind. And it was like basically a real dark void. And basically where I was at was everything that I was viewing that was actually good and fruitful and productive, I was seeing it as a bad thing, or as a skeptic, like becoming real odd about some of just things that were clearly regular and like, yo, that happens, stuff like that. It got much deeper for me, and it got much deeper to me in these moments, in these times, and in these circumstances, honestly. And it's sad that these things do take place, but I feel like within the last 3 years, I spent a long time actually trying to come to terms with it. That's really what it was. So just like a real long, lengthy period of time actually just coming to terms with it. There's people in my life who probably always meant me good, and they were doing good, and Yeah, people are imperfect. That's regular, but they, the things that they were commonly doing and regularly doing, I was now looking at from a different lens. It's like I was living in a real dark place. Like I can't even explain it. Like, well, I can explain it. Let me try to just go in depth about it. What was good, what was always good, what was always healthy, what was always beneficial to me, I was now looking at like side eye, like really looking at it like I don't know about this and stuff like that. And me responding out of that place that I was at, in that space that I was in, was not really good retaliation methods. It weren't really good things. Sometimes I responded in silence, which is still a response. Not the best one, but it's still a response. So there was times that I responded in silence. There was times that I just did not respond at all. As certain connections, I realized the value that they initially had, and I started to lose them. Some circumstances and that I was facing were kind of